Let us begin then with our meditation. And I'm going to just invite you to settle in your chair or sofa or wherever you are and allow yourself to just close your eyes simply because it helps us to just become present to where we are right in this moment. You might want to take a deep, long in-breath and then a slow exhale. And another one, allowing the breath to go into the belly and exhale. Always helps us to arrive and just breathing naturally, your own natural breath. And I'm going to invite you just to keep your attention now for a few minutes on your breath, just how this breath right now is expressing. Is it slow and natural, faster and natural? Maybe a little ragged if you had to hurry to get here for some reason. Just noticing without any judgment. What is this breath like? And noticing too, as we are always invited to do, when thoughts arise, taking our attention momentarily, or perhaps longer, and as usual, reminding ourselves to simply allow the thought to pass by and returning to the breath. Gently, perhaps appreciatively, for this breath. And now inviting you to shift attention from the breath and simply notice what is present right now. If you shift away attention from the breath, what remains? Well, for many of us, I think it's a flow of thoughts that jump right in there and start chugging along. What's true for you? Perhaps momentarily coming back to the breath from your thoughts. Letting go of the thoughts and noticing what remains. Letting go of the breath if your attention was there. And notice what remains. Allowing yourself to just play with this. Focusing on the breath. And then stepping back from the breath. Or if thoughts are claiming center stage, stepping back from thoughts and notice what remains. And if you find that you can't step back from thoughts or the breath for very long, that you can't allow what remains to shine, that's not a problem. Returning. If it's thoughts that arise, just noticing. No need for judgment or frustration either. It's just the way it goes. But now, this evening, we're stepping back, the backward step, away from the thoughts. As well as a backward step away from the breath, although we can return there anytime if you feel the need to center. Returning, and then stepping back. Resting. Resting in what remains. There's absolutely nothing to do. Allowing what remains. Simply to be present, to shine, without getting in the way. And again, of course, thoughts will get in the way. Once again, stepping back. remembering again, returning to the backward step. It's not a problem. If you stay only a few seconds, or even a fraction of a second with what remains, that's no problem. Just remembering to step back. And what is this? This that remains? What do we call it? Or what can we call it? We can call it by many names, many terms, of course. Pure awareness, consciousness, Buddha nature, true nature, on and on they can go. Some call it Christ consciousness, and others call it God. That may seem like a far reach to us, calling what remains God. If so, don't worry. We don't even have to call it anything. Just doing it, stepping back, away from any object of our attention, whether that object is our thoughts that are rising and perhaps racing along, or whether that object is our breath or our body. Taking this small and yet enormously significant backward step. Again and again, stepping back. And resting. so simple that the mind can't grasp it. This is what remains, this pure consciousness. And yet it's always there. We can choose to get out of our way and step back at any moment and rest. The ultimate refuge, or maybe more accurately, the ultimate. The stepping back gives us stepping back into what we really are, our most fundamental nature, before the experiences, the thoughts, the emotions, the awareness of the body has entered. This is there. To turn to a religious context, this is what Jesus meant when he said, before Abraham was, I am. This is what the Zen people mean when they speak of your original face before you were born. Entirely impersonal. Pure presence. Your original face before you were born. Oh, let us bring this meditation, our non-meditation, to an end now. I forgot the bell, so letting my voice be the bell, coming back to the room. Tonight, I'm going to offer a talk, and it's going to be a pretty short talk because I want to leave time afterwards for us to have questions, discussion. It always strikes me that can be the most valuable part of what these can be very, very helpful. So the talk tonight that I'm going to offer is called What I Wish I Had Been Told. And it's a map of the spiritual journey, part 2. Because part 1 I gave, I don't know, it was late October. I've recognized it can sound incredibly arrogant. Like, who talks about a map of the spiritual journey except someone like the Buddha or some great spiritual master can talk about the map of the journey. And I'm not a spiritual master, but I'm going to do it anyway, because I have been on this journey for actually more than 60 years now. That's 60. That's a long time in human experience at any rate. And I've been consciously on this journey that long. And I think, like all of us, maybe unconsciously, even before I knew I was on the journey. I have looked quite closely at the great traditions. I've been in insight in our mindfulness tradition now for over 20 years, including living in a Buddhist Theravada monastery. And before that, I was in Zen for 8 years. And for a couple of those, I lived in a Zen monastery. And I've also been practicing in Hindu Advaita tradition. I've studied pretty closely and resonated with Christian mysticism and the Sufi mystics, all of that together. And what I have discovered, and I think many of you know that as well, that really beyond all the differences, and there are many, beyond the different kind of approaches, the different specific beliefs, certainly beyond the vocabulary, there's a basic similarity. When you distill them down to their essence, there's a basic similarity. They're talking about the same thing from very different perspectives. It's like the Hindus say, there's one path and many truths. Not to say one perspective is better than the other. And some of these truths go further than others, but they're all distilled down into this same one truth and many paths. So I certainly have found along the way that I would have benefited if somebody had given me a kind of overview or map, a simplified approach to what this is all about. I think it would have avoided some confusion, and that's why I'm doing this here. I'm offering this here at IMCC with the hope maybe it'll be helpful to you. So I'll say, if you're new, I'm hoping all of it are not so new, but if any of this is confusing, just let it flow by, let it rest, maybe sink in a little bit, and just listening without comparing, please. You know how much our minds want to compare and jump in and think, oh, well, I know that, and oh, wish I were there. Oh, forget all of that. We're each where we need to be. That's a big truth I have discovered for myself. Okay, so I'm not where the Buddha is or where any of these great, but I am where I am. Each of us are where we need to be. And there's something profound about recognizing that. Not a problem. We are not remedial, as somebody once came to me, a practitioner. She said, I'm so remedial, she said. No, you're not remedial. You're exactly where you need to be. I am too. We all are. So please, no comparisons. just listening and hearing, hopefully, some of the basic truths, I hope. And I'll say, wherever you find yourself on this journey now, it's not only where you need to be, but it's all perfect. And a few weeks ago, Sharon read from a scripture called the Mahamangala scripture, the scripture of great blessings, and talking from the Buddha, and talking about the different blessings along this, let's call it, journey. And he called each one a blessing supreme. Mahamangala, a blessing supreme. And you might have noticed when she was reading, there was kind of a progression there. He started on very practical lines. And I thought it's interesting because his first statement is, he said something like, don't associate with foolish, have wise friends. This is his first concern of advice. And he went on in a lot of very practical things. And he ends up with what? A mind unshaken by worldly conditions. Like, this is a graduated path. And what he's said that we may find and can find along the spiritual journey, what we perceive as a journey. It is an unfolding in our experience. We unfold on what each of us feels to be our own spiritual journey. So first of all, recap. I'll just very, very briefly recapitulate what I said in section part 1, and that is spiritual. And I talked about what I think we can think of as 2 phases of spiritual journey. Part 1, just the questioning that we have. Maybe all of the things. Maybe we feel we have questions since we can ever remember since we were children. What's it all about? Why do I suffer? What can I do to get rid of it? What's the world about? All of these questions are part of the spiritual journey. They're the first part of the spiritual journey. I last time began to talk about 2 dimensions of reality, or 2 types of reality that we encounter. We understand our world, and I'm going to just say it briefly. I went into a good deal of detail last time. On a horizontal plane, that's how we live, and on a horizontal plane. And by the way, this is a very common image. I didn't make it up. I'm sure some of you have heard it before. We live with the past, the present, and the future along a horizontal line. That's how we understand our lives. With a me at the center of it, it's I am experiencing that. And as soon as we have an experience of me, automatically there's a you. It can't be any other way. Once there's a me, there's a you, and we start with what we can call the relative world, our duality. A world that is split and fractured, beginning with the me who is the experiencer, and then the objects. And once there is a fracture, or the division into relative objects, then there's suffering. It cannot be, at times, I don't mean suffering only, but there will be suffering, guaranteed, as soon as we see things in terms of objects. So that's the horizontal plane, the reality, our common conventional understanding what reality is. We all know it so very, very well. But there's another dimension of reality that I went into some detail last time. That's the vertical dimension. And that is what we intuitively know, what we yearn for, what we know, something that seems to be missing on the horizontal level. It's something deep that we can't really put words to, although we do put a lot of words to. It can't be expressed. It's, so to say, off the grid in terms of the mind. Our mind can't really grasp it, yet we feel it deeply. And we could say things like feel it from the heart, or the intuition, or whatever. But we know it is a wholeness. It's an indivisibility. And again, the many words that we can call it: consciousness, pure awareness, Buddha nature, Christ consciousness, many, many different terms. We know it's there. We can call it the vertical dimension. two dimensions then of reality. I say our meditation tonight, I was calling us to this vertical dimension, yes? Stepping back from the horizontal, stepping back from these objects of our attention and coming to what we deeply know is true, even if we haven't spoken about it before much. So there is then another major marker on the journey, another major phase. I'll say the first phase is this questioning that we all go through. But I say a second phase is this phase when the vertical dimension begins to break through the horizontal dimension. Let me put that into different terms. When we begin to experience wonder, when we begin to experience things that cannot be explained logically, the synchronicities that we experience, and that often we or others or people tend to dismiss and say, oh, well, that was just luck or just accident or whatever. Synchronicities, and let's say last week, those of you who attended Laura's talk, she gave a beautiful example. She told a story about herself and an encounter with a man she would have never encountered with at a rest stop on the road. And an amazing story of how, I won't retell her story, she can do it, but it was a wonderful synchronicity. I think we've all had our own. And what I'm suggesting, these are moments when this vertical knowing, this vertical reality has broken through our experience of everyday life. These are glimpses. And I think all of us have glimpsed perhaps many times. I think artists in particular, we understand or feel the story tells us. It's not we tell the story or the painting paints us. It's there. It's huge. So these are the breakthroughs. I think of these glimpses or breakthroughs like a dimmer switch. They can be dimmer or they can be much more intense on a light, the glimpses. And then there is something that we can call awakening. It is this enormous, we can think of it as a vast bright light that all of a sudden it just blows out. It blows open our idea of what reality was. We suddenly realize, wait a minute, it isn't just past, present, and future. There's something else that is fundamental. It's a reversal in understanding. It is a beginning of experiencing, even if we don't fully understand it, of what we truly are. And namely, that is the primordial awareness. Okay, enough words. I talked about it last time, so I don't want to say too much more, except that I think, again, this is, I will call it an awakening, the big breakthrough, the big reversal in which you begin to experience directly the nature of reality is not just the full of the horizontal story. So phase one and phase two. Tonight, I would like to talk about what I think of as phase three of this spiritual journey. First of all, I'll say that it's easy to think that awakening, I think we get the picture that awakening is like the grand finale. You have an awakening and by golly, there's no more to do. You got it, that's it. We can pack up our spiritual bags because we're going to live it for the rest of our life. It's going to hang around and so forth. But it isn't like that. That's wrong. It's a misconception. And I do think that at least some of the spiritual material that I've read can leave us with the importance of awakening, which is profoundly important, as being the end. But it isn't. It is, in fact, a new beginning. This reversal, when we truly begin to see the nature of this vertical reality, the wordless, that which cannot be spoken adequately in words, but is always present. When we begin to see that truly, this is the beginning then of phase three. so I say it's a new beginning. There is a huge paradox or problem here. And the paradox or problem is that what we are seeing when we have this awakening glimpses, when the dimmer switch is turning up, ramping up, what we see is timeless, it is spaceless, it has no bounds, no dimensions, it's utterly whole, indivisible peace. We see that. And the problem with that is that our attention is not whole and indivisible. It's there, but our attention is, as we say, the monkey mind. It flits around all over the place. And so this is phase 3 because it then becomes the expression of what we're doing on the journey. We're bringing ourselves back to what we truly know. That's it. We're bringing this monkey mind that's all over the place, coming back to remember what we have known, what we have seen. I think for most of us, and here I think it's significant, there's a misconception. I think so many of us are under the idea that awakening is so enormous, so vast, so much the end, that we discredit or discount whatever we ourselves have experienced, particularly because whatever we ourselves have experienced hasn't stayed around. It fades over time. Well, actually, in fact, let me point out, it does not fade. It remains. What happens is our attention moves away. Our attention moves like the monkey mind is the monkey mind. It's always there. So this is why we need to keep coming back and coming back. Maybe if we wanted to hook this up with the Buddha and the Eightfold Path, we might call it this coming back, bringing ourselves back to what we truly know. We might call it wise intention, and I think that's a good term. But I think there's something deeper that pulls us back. I think we come back to what we truly know when our mind is all off doing whatever it's doing and coming back. I think we come back because of love. Because we deeply love this vertical dimension. You don't mind, so antiseptic to call it a vertical dimension, but this, what we truly know. We come back to it because deeply we love it. Even if we don't even think about it, we yearn for it, we long for it. So this is phase 3. And therefore, I think what we're called to do is align our lives with the truth that we have experienced. Even if we've only experienced glimpses, or even if, and they have seemed to fade, even if we've had an awakening and it was 50 years ago and doesn't seem to be around sometimes, we align our lives with what we most deeply know. That's it. Why? Because this is what we truly, most deeply love. Okay, so how do we do that? And by the way, this then is the aligning of the horizontal and the vertical dimensions. Somebody asked me this last time when I gave this talk. It's aligning them by bringing our attention back and integrating ourselves, allowing the vertical reality, the reality that we most deeply know, to shine through our lives. I'm suggesting that we can do this in a very practical way or a clear way. I'm calling it the 3 R's by coming back: remembering, returning, and resting. Remembering what it is. You're in the middle of doing something, you're in an argument, an unpleasant conversation, you're in the middle of whatever, difficulty with your computer has crashed or something unpleasant, or even also in a pleasant situation. Remember. Remember what you deeply know. That is not about discounting the argument you may be having or the beautiful experience, but allow what you deeply know to permeate what it is that you're doing, to shine in what you're doing. And we do, so the first step to remember, oh yeah, I've experienced pure awareness. Let's call it pure awareness, just to truly remember it. To voluntarily disconnect for an instant from the specific thing you are involved in, to turn away for an instant, even if you're doing it with your hands, you're doing something with your hands, in your mind, turn away to remember what you know. To voluntarily return to remember what you love, your true nature. So that's the first of the 3 R's. The second of the 3 R's, I'm calling remembering them. You turn toward it, okay, I have experienced or a glimpse or glimpses or an awakening, whatever, however you see it. Now the next step is to actually remember it, to allow your attention to touch into it. That doesn't mean just saying, oh, true nature, consciousness. It doesn't mean saying, remembering an affirmation, oh, yeah, I know true nature. Or, oh, yes, that what happened at the beach last year. None of that, because that doesn't work. That's only a thought. That's only a mind's nod toward it. Returning means actually experiencing it directly. That sounds hard, I think. It isn't. We all know it. Every one of us knows it because that's what we are. And you have experienced it when you glimpsed it, when you've awakened to it. You had that experience, even if it was 50 years ago, even if it were yesterday, you know it. Even if it has faded, you can go back to it. We intentionally sink into it. This is returning. We return to it, not to the specific circumstances, but to the inner meaning of those circumstances, to the inner reality of those circumstances. That's returning. That's what we are. That's what you are, most essentially. And it is what I invited us to do time and again in today's meditation. That's what I was inviting us to do. And I'm sure some of you absolutely did that. Now, this returning may be the hardest part of these 3 R's that I'm mentioning. Why? Because we are not used to it. We haven't done it. Our culture doesn't even acknowledge it, much less promote it. And we are conditioned deeply to just simply live along the horizontal line, our past, present, and future. So this is why it is our spiritual journey, our spiritual unfolding, is to intentionally remember it and intentionally return to it. And that may involve work, in the sense that we are dropping what we usually do and turning to something else, what we know. It may take a while each time you try. Or some of you, I am sure, did this today during the meditation. It isn't hard. It's just that we're not accustomed. We're retraining ourselves. And the 3rd R is resting in it for as long as you can. And it doesn't matter if it's a split second or if it's 5 minutes. It doesn't matter. But I will say the returning becomes easier and easier when you do it. I can promise you that. You will be able, you do it like that. In an instant, you just return because you know it. It's already there. Just find it. It's finding it. Not intellectually, by the way. Then resting there. Just resting in what you know, and do not expect it to last for the day, for an hour even. It makes no difference. This is a practice. These 3 R's is a practice of unlearning. It's a practice of unknowing. We are unlearning and unknowing that which we usually do, which is just live life day, minute, what we think minute by minute, cause and effect on the linear level. We're unlearning that. We are learning to step out of our own way, out of the way of our mind that always goes back to the linear level. Now, let me say, as I'm commenting on this, we don't forget our daily anything from the day. It's not say put it aside, forget it, go live in a cave or even in a monastery. Not necessary. We live fully. This is the call, is to live fully as human beings on not only the linear level, but also the vertical level. But we first have to unlearn our conditioned behaviors. So again, I want to really make it clear. It's not about forgetting. It's not about discarding. It's not about saying anything is bad. It's not. It's natural, but we can live more fully when we understand both and live both and let the vertical level shine through what we do. So that brings me, actually, I couldn't decide. This is a little bit a fourth R. I said there were 3 R's. There's actually 4, but I thought 3 sounded awful, like a lot. I mean, 4 sounded like a lot. So I thought I'd just talk to you about the 4th R is repeating. Repeating this process of the 3 R's daily. Repeating it often every day. It's the key. Repeating it when you're walking in the forest. Go back. Remember, return, rest in what you know. If you're having, again, an unpleasant conversation in your mind, just a split second, go back, remember, and rest in what you know. When you're meditating, do the same. When you're out bicycling, do the same. Whatever. Many times, just for short moments. That is the 3rd phase of the spiritual path. And I will say there's no end to it. This phase simply goes on. It is every moment. Does it ever happen more naturally? Yes, it becomes more natural. But it's not like, oh, we stopped doing this. It becomes more of our nature to allow what you truly are to shine through. You don't have to make an effort. You don't have to create it. It's already there. All you have to do is find it and rest in it. So I think of this aligning your life with what truly is it's about finding our way home. That's finding our way home. So I invite you on your journey to practice this. All of us here are spiritual practitioners. Don't ignore what you know. Find the heart of it and going home with it. So thank you, friends.